Hey everyone, the numbers are in for Long Beach and Panama City Beach for May of 2020. I'm Craig Duran with Duran Group over at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. A lot has gone on in the condo market over the last 60 days. This update is going to be a little bit longer than my normal ones. There's a few extra things I want you guys to understand about what's happened over the last 60 days or so. First of all, this is a chart. If you're not familiar with this and haven't seen some of our other updates, Showing Time, you're looking at a graph from a company called Showing Time. Showing Time is a company that real estate agents and brokers use to schedule showing appointments. So if I have someone that wants to see 5 condos, I use this system to set those appointments. And what's nice about this is the company Showing Time is tracking how many appointments are scheduled, how many are declined, how many don't happen, how many do. So early on in the pandemic, I wanted to track and see what the showing activity was like in the market. We knew that this was going to happen right here. This is early March. We knew that people were going to look at real estate less and less and less. What we didn't know would be how dramatic it would be. And we, of course, didn't know when it would start to pick back up again. So I wanted to see really early on how frequently people were getting out to look, what kind of volume we saw in showings. Because remember, think about it very simply. To have a closing for someone to buy or sell a condo, there has to be a contract. For the buyer to be willing to make an offer, to be able to negotiate a contract, they have to get out and look at real estate and decide what they want to buy. So this was a really good way for us to see 30, 45, 60 days into the future to see how many closings we were going to have by seeing the level of activity of showing. So I was a little surprised. Early April, we started to pick up, and we picked up dramatically. At the bottom of this most recent activity, there was an 85% difference in showing activity in 2020 versus 2019. In other words, we were showing 85% less real estate in Florida than we were this time last year or early April. Things have picked up dramatically, as you can see, and we're right about even. In fact, there's a couple days of exactly even of getting out and showing again. So the market has picked up dramatically. It's almost right where we were in 2019, and there's some pent-up demand, remember, because there's a lot of activity that wasn't happening here. So the next thing we want to look at is the number of contracts written. So are people getting out and just looking at condos, or are they actually making offers and going under contract to buy something? Are they confident enough not just to get out of the house, but are they wanting to do some business? Do they feel good about their financial position to make an offer? Do they feel good about the economy to make an offer? So this red line here, a couple different ways to look at what I've got here. This is tracking the number of new contracts written for condos. The red line is the condo market. And not surprising, early in May or early in March, same thing as that showing chart we just looked at. We were down 50%. In 1 week, we wrote 50% fewer contracts than we did the year before. That moved down to 72% and as low as 79% 1 week. We wrote 79% fewer contracts than we did the year before. Very interesting that we were about 85% off in showing activity. It's interesting how those numbers really correlate. But we've picked up, right? When showing activity picked up, we've gone from being down 75%, upwards of 58, only down 46, down 10, down 9. And as of last week, we were actually up 2% year over year in the number of new contracts written. Last week, we wrote 2% more contracts on condos that week than we did in 2019. That's pretty amazing considering we just went to phase 2 right before I recorded this video. We've just gone and announced in Florida phase 2 of this reopening of coronavirus. I won't get into all the details of what that means, but all of this activity has happened in either phase 1 or even before that. The vacation rental ban was in effect for most of this, which has a huge effect on condo purchases because so many buyers come from other areas and they come and stay in these condos while they're shopping, looking for them. So the market is in a little bit of a frenzy right now. There's a lot of something to add to the numbers here. There's a lot of emotion, not only in just getting out, but getting out and doing things that make us feel normal again. Some buyers I can see that have been thinking about buying a condo for a while, and because of recent events, it's finally like, yep, we're not waiting anymore. We're going to do it. I think it's also a good sign with all this activity that people feel pretty good about their financial situations, or enough people do that they're making these kind of moves in real estate. So we've got a little bit of a frenzy. It's a little bit of a perfect storm in the condo market. Early in the season, you always have a lot of buyer optimism. The weather warms up. The beach is open. Let's get to the beach. Now it's you exaggerate that with, ooh, I've been cooped up for 60 days. Yes, let me get out. Let me get out. So we've got a pretty frenzied, hot real estate market right now. Generally speaking, when you look at microcosm, when you look at the overall market, and this chart, you guys know I'm a big fan of this. This is the chart that goes back to all of this is all of the condos built since 2006. No, sorry, this is the entire condo market chart I'm pulling for you here. And what's happened here is the red line represents the number of units for sale at any given point. The black line represents the number of closings that are happening. And we know that month over month since 2018, we've been adding supply to the market. We've been adding more units for sale than the ones that have sold. So the market's cooling off a little bit. But remember, the market's cooled off from a frenetic, scorching hot market. Again, months of inventory is an important number to understand here. Months of inventory is, well, think about it this way, 5 or 6 months of inventory traditionally. I think it's about 4 to 5 now with marketing and how fast we can put things up for sale. But those numbers generally mean neutral market. That means prices stay flat. That means there's not a lot of big swings in negotiations between buyers and sellers. If there's anything such as a normal real estate market, that would be it. Anything less than 4 or 5 months, now you're in seller market territory. And that's where you hear about multiple offers, units selling in 24 hours, units selling for over the asking price. The longer you stay in the seller market territory with all that kind of activity, the more prices will tend to rise. The longer you stay in neutral market territory, prices will tend to stay flat. The longer you stay in buyer market territory, at some point prices have to give. There are more units for sale than there are buyers. Something has to give. So we've been slowing down, but we've been slowing down from a very, very hot market. We finally did touch on neutral market territory here in February and March. Obviously, with coronavirus affecting activity, the last 2 months here, we've jumped into buyer market territory. This is a very dramatic move to go from 5 months to 14 or 12. You think about it just in terms of percentages, we're over doubly as slow than we were in March. Not surprising, again, things are opening up, and I think we're going to absorb some of that very quickly. But based off of, again, this is what we're looking at here is affected by closings. So fewer closings the last couple of months due to coronavirus. Right now, we're outwriting a lot of contracts. I expect that number to come back down a little bit. Considering that this has been trending up for a very long time, I think we may do a little bit better than this 12 and 14 months over the next couple of months, but I don't know that we're going to get all the way back to seller market territory. At best, maybe we get back to neutral market, so prices might hold, but not really. Maybe it doesn't look like there's a lot of room for appreciation anytime in the market anytime soon. If we look just at Long Beach, a very similar story at Long Beach. If you sort of follow the red line, inventory levels have been climbing. If you follow the months of inventory line from very, very hot market, if you look at some of these dates generally to look at where we've touched here recently, 7 months, a little bit of a buyer's market, didn't have a sale in April, 16 months of inventory last month. So acting very, very similar to the overall market, slowing down. I expect it to look better on paper over the next couple of months. I think we'll write a lot of contracts, but we'll be curious to see just how far it recovers. Only one closing in May for Long Beach. We had one of the 3-bedroom units close for $520,000. A couple things to think about, and something I talk about every year about this time with condo owners. It's very common for anybody who owns a condo and thinks about or uses it and has rental income. When someone decides to sell, a lot of times the decision's made, well, I'll put my condo up for sale after rental season. From a cash flow perspective, hey, I want to get through rental season, make all my heavy revenue, and then come September-ish or so, I'll put it up for sale. I want you to think about something from a timing standpoint. September and October are very good months for buyers closing on units. There's a little pent-up demand from June, July, and part of August that buyers can't get in and see as many condos as they would like to see. Because of that, there's a lot of research being done, whether people are somewhere else and they know just not to come into town until August or September to start looking, or they tried to come into town and just started researching online. But a lot of research and a lot of decisions are being made in June and July, early August, about what to try to see when things are available. If you wait until September to be on the market, you're missing that whole group. And also think about this. It's a typical contract takes about 30 days to close. And we just went through this showing and research, negotiated contract, closing. Well, showing and research can take anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 years, depending on where you are in the process, but takes a little bit of time. The average contract takes a couple of days to a week to negotiate potentially. Closing is on average 30 days. Cash deals can close a little faster than that. Average closing is about 30 days. So if you put a condo up for sale early July and got a contract the first day, first of all, you're probably pretty happy with the price if you accepted something that quickly. But more than likely, you're going to have a 30-day closing, which means you're getting all of your revenue through July, probably until early August. Same scenario. If it took you 2 weeks you put it up early July, you took 2 weeks to get a contract, now you're middle of August when you're closing. If you put it up early July and it took a month, which is not very long, to get a contract, now you're closing end of August. So you're past that heavy revenue, or most of it. And you're still capitalizing on season. It's the beach season. Buyers are a little more optimistic. The buyer that you get in the off season sometimes looking for the discount because they know they don't have the heavy revenue coming in. So if there's a good time to put a unit up on the market, one of the 2 good times of the year, I would say to start thinking about your process late June, early July at the latest. A good real estate agent, it takes a little bit of time to get professional photography, videography, build websites, and get all that prepared. We signed paperwork with a seller last week that we're recording this June 3rd. So this was the end of May. We signed some paperwork, and we're not going to be able to shoot photography until June 19th. A lot of rental companies have new restrictions on what can happen on the turn between someone checking out and checking in. And so to control and sanitize units, they're allowing fewer showings, or allowing no photographers, that kind of thing. So it can take, this time of year, it can take the even a little bit longer to get something up for sale. So keep all that in mind, especially, I say this every year, but 2020 could be a little more important. We could be at the end of a really good run on condos, 8 or 10 years of appreciation. If you think about the possibilities in third or fourth quarter, certainly we have the possibility of recovering out of coronavirus pandemic very quickly, and people being excited about the economy and buying condos again, and the market just keeps going up and up and up. Sure, it's one possibility. Another possibility might be some volatility around a presidential election in markets. Another possibility would be a hotspot coronavirus flare-up somewhere, not even near us, but somewhere in Florida that affects Florida shutting down, or just affects things in general that make people feel a little more cautious. Depending on what you think about all those things happening, even just look at that one chart again for the overall market. Remember that the condo market has very much been trending softening, and at some point markets have to correct. We don't think that there's going to be any kind of big crash in the condo market. There's too much equity in the condo market, but a normal correction or a normal pullback in pricing could be 5, 8%, 10%. And that doesn't just recover overnight. Very generally speaking, that could take a little while to come down, maybe flatten, and things to turn again. So if you're at all thinking about selling in 2020, start the process a little sooner than you might think, or at least talk to your agent about timing things out so that you can accomplish your goals if renting is one of the things. So, that's a little longer than normal. Hope you guys found it helpful. We'll be back next month to see just how many contracts we did write. I can tell you it's going to be it's very, very busy and frenzied out there. So I would expect to see a lot of recovery very quickly in 1 month. Hope you guys are well. Thanks for watching.